All right, we're back. So I'm gonna first show off the rest of the Divana deck, which is mostly commons and uncommons, so I won't have a ton to say about them, but I've done some thinking in the last week about the different archetypes that I think Divana could play pretty well, and I have a list of short ideas and then a deck list for you all with specifically with the seven-hander Divana. So without further ado, let's take a look at the cards. Serving Shade is a decent flow card in Divana. It is a 4 4 that after you lose health, gain a health, and your next attack gets +1. So notably, this response could fire multiple times. Divana, as the seven-hander, triggers it one time immediately. Actually, both do. Um, but then if you have another way to pay more life, which I think is only really on the fire symbol, you could get +2 to your next check, +2 damage, and so on. And then it has EX2 as well, which is cool. Liberating Headbutt is just a common 3 mid 5 that can actually be a 4 mid 6 powerful 2, 1 high block and a tuned life. It kind of goes without saying, but all the life gain stuff that's on the life symbol can just work in Ymir as well, just fine. That character just gets so many cards right now. Yeah, Pad Power is a 3 low 5 stun 1 with Blitz gain 2 health on attuned life. And then Black Ops Throwdown, this is a throw which is on attuned chaos, so that's cool, I guess. 2 high 6, and if they don't block it, your next check gets +1. I was gonna talk a bit more about Frenzy, but I think everyone else has had more interesting Frenzy cards, so here's the one the Divana deck has. It is a 2 mid 3. Frenzy is a blitz that says this attack gets 1 speed and damage for each attack block this turn. Being a 3 diff is cool because the Frenzy keyword wants to be played later in a chain after your opponent has hopefully been forced to block a couple times. But this is her Frenzy card, and I believe that's it for the attacks. Yeah. So Foundations, Unyielding Enthusiasm. This card is reasonable, I guess. Its response: flip a foundation after you gain health. Look at the top of your deck. You may put it on the bottom. So it allows you to like decide what you're going to draw or change your checks up and so on. Eager to Please. After you take damage, your next check this turn gets +1. We don't really want to be taking damage in a character that pays life, especially the seven-hander, but there's potential things here, like you could partially block with Rejuvenating Smash and then gain 2, respond with Divana to buff your check, and then this will also buff the check, and it'll be really easy to block after that, so that's neat. Um, Makeshift Repair is similar to the Vox Machina Zero Diff that um, says after an attack is blocked, flip and gain 2, I think, and in this case, the blocking player gains 3. The wording is cool for multiplayer stuff. Both of these cards on this page are sort of worded for multiplayer formats. Best Buddies is response sack a foundation after an attack is played. Choose any number of players. They each gain 1 health. Even more 1 diffs that gain life. This has a nice block mod too, being a 2 low. I think both of these were primarily stats. Piratical Past is enhanced flip to give -2 to their check to block. Um, this one's cool because it's technically better than speed. It works on the subsequent attack if they don't block the first one. And then Summoned Home is flip to gain a health, but if you've already gained health instead, it gives a speed and a damage. So both of these cards are reasonable. And the last one here, we have another Dupler, but this one you can only run 4 of. So in your Dupler decks, I presume you probably run this because it's a 1 diff and you will have a ton of 2 difficulty foundations, but it's probably pretty nice to have. Okay, so that's all of the Divana cards. Here are the kind of deck ideas I had. So I will touch I'll talk about City Rampage a bit more in depth shortly because I have a deck list for it. The other ones were just kind of brief ideas. I think Divana plays 4 checks pretty well because you can play something, buff your check by a bunch, and then play on like an 8 or a 9 with plus some number to your check, depending on how many little life gain effects you have and what your life is at, how much you're able to pay. But there's the potential to check things for free that you shouldn't be able to check for free, right? So there's definitely an option there. I have 2 fire ideas here. The first one is Dragon of the Darkness Flame. Since this character pays 1 on face and gives stun, I feel like it's pretty reasonable to play like a fire aggro deck with her and just turbo down to 10 life and have the payoffs be defeating the Colossus Titan potentially, and then Dragon of the Darkness Flame, because that card is just for 16 damage. So you can get another momentum with Double Fist of the Mortal Flame. You could pay 5 life with beast summonings. All the cards you're playing have stun too. You can buff your checks just so that when you're playing the Dragon of the Darkness Flame on a 7 or an 8, you have plus some number to the check if you're able to still pay enough to be below 10. So there's like a decent, pretty high offense thing on the fire symbol, I think, that I'll probably mess with. I'm not sure if it's better as Divana or Reiner 2. I think Reiner 2 probably plays a similar package very well as well. Um, Freeze, I'm just always going to point out Heaven Piercing Ice Wall characters. This character does the same, does the thing. It freezes too. So the seven hander, I mean, of course, but you know, we love that card. So I will always point that out. And there's probably something you can do there. Punches is probably the most real option of the ones I haven't done a deck list for yet because Rejuvenating Smash gains life, so it buffs your check, and Repeated 100 is on life, and when you are buffing the check of Repeated 100, you are committing less foundations than you would ready, so that means you can play it later in a string and ready a whole bunch more. So there's probably some very ridiculous strings you can do, and then obviously there's now attuned fire and chaos punches. Not sure if any of them are particularly worth it. I guess you could do like knockdown blow female attacks to pick up repeated 100 or whatever. There's definitely some moves there, and I'll probably look more into the punches one specifically. But let's take a look at City Rampage because this is the one I was working on. So you might notice right away that we are not doing anything with the new cards. The reason for that is I think the current cards we have kind of work better, at least with the seven hander, and it's possible we include like some of the one diffs that gain life or whatever, but I was really happy with how this was testing and everything. So to kind of go through the idea of this deck, everything is going to have its check buff by City Rampage. I want to specifically talk about Rock Barrage. This card builds a backup, and then if you there's a decent chance between these two that we will have two backups in our stage, so it'll commit two and then stun one as well, so that's really nice. But more importantly, this card builds in Grish's Attack Titan, which says form sacrifice it to pick up a Fury, so you can do that on your turn right away. This card also draws you cards. It's fine. It's the next best one, I think, and like the block mod on it is good, but we're really interested in this because we have three Furies in this deck that we absolutely want to pick up. Early in the game, we pick up Chimera Krakens and slow them down, or Blue Flames to hack our checks. And then at the end of a string, we pick up things like teaming, and playing this is just crazy later on because this becomes a one difficulty after you have three cards in your card pool, and then with the City Rampage buff, obviously. Um, and then the non-Fury we're playing is Walk the Dog because this character needs to draw cards, and this is a very Walk the Dog character. The ability to stun out multiple on attacks into playing this, into drawing more cards, buffing your checks to play more Walk the Dogs. I think she plays that like idea very, very well. I'm not sure Soup is a 4x, but this card makes a lot of sense in her. It just builds right away, and then you can commit it to gain a life. We're stringing out, so capture the target is great. Most of this is pretty typical chaos stuff. She's great with dangerous combatant. And then these two life gain cards are the ones I settled on. I think if you're thinking about playing this character, you probably want to have a 4 uplifting bond, because at response speed, you lose a life so you can gain a life right away, which immediately gets her response in play, and then also it makes them really want to block this attack, or it'll skip progressive. And then Brief Respite is the new spam that gains life from AOT2. So I think this pretty much covers the deck idea and everything I really wanted to show. I will probably work on a punches list. I'll keep testing this character. I think she's got a lot of interesting ideas. More so the seven-hander than the six-hander, of course. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks again to UVS Games for letting me have the opportunity to do this. And I can't wait to get testing and playing with these cards and see what we come up with.